Hello everybody, I'm Cobbler Bob. Today's video, I'm going to talk about the 7 worst things that you can possibly do to mistreat your shoes. Okay, so let's go. Hello everybody, it's Robert Powers.
4.5 out of 5.
My shoe collection.
These are made of shell Cordovan.
Here they are finished up.
I'm not a professional.
Look how tight this is though.
Very clearly here, I just cut the thread in half.
And here they are, all finished up. All right, guys, welcome back to my channel. First of all, in case you don't know who I am, as I said in my ditty, I'm not a professional, but I have thrifted and shined, I don't know about thousands, but hundreds and hundreds of shoes. And I became the go-to guy for my office. Kind of died down because, COVID, changed our business and more work from home. But we had a lot of part-time people working a financial business and a lot of young people that didn't have any shoes, and I was trying to get them shoes cheap. Point is that I was exposed to a lot of people that were not shoe people becoming shoe people. I'm going to give you the top 7 things that I think these are those 7 worst things you can do to mistreat your shoes, right? So I'm going to start at number 7, and I kind of have these in what I believe is like the least bad to most bad. So let's just jump right into this. So number 7 is exposing aniline leather to wet and especially to snow. So first of all, what is aniline leather? Well, there's 2 major groups of leather. Well, there's really more than that, but most of the leather in the cheap shoes you get is going to be what's called corrected grain leather. I'm going to put in the description below a couple detailed videos on this subject, but the short version is corrected grain leather is cheaper leather, and because it's not good enough to use as is, they'll kind of like grind off the top of it and or coat it. I don't know if it's lacquer or plastic, but they coat it with something, and it looks like this. The texture is very, very dead flat smooth, very monotone in color, and you won't see any of the details of the actual animal skin. Aniline leather is coated, but only with something like transparent or translucent. In other words, it's dyed, but it doesn't have a layer of plastic covering it. Okay, there's aniline, semi-aniline, but point is, the upside is it's a better quality leather, and it, generally speaking, returns to shape better. It doesn't crease as deeply. But the downside is it's more porous. If you're going to beat your shoes up and wear them in wet, I've got shoes that I wear because I'm in Ohio. We get snow. And in case you don't know, the worst thing about snow is way worse than rain, because when there's snow on the streets, generally anywhere, they'll also salt it. Sodium chloride, potassium chloride, I think. But the point is it makes a salt water mixture that, and I'll show you a picture here, literally one exposure to the salt water can ruin aniline leather, and it gets this bumpy, lumpy texture in it. It changes the chemical composition of the leather somehow. You will not be able to get it back out. There are some ways to kind of treat it, other videos, but that's why that's really bad. So don't expose your good leather, aniline or semi-aniline leather shoes to a lot of wet or snow. You can help that a little bit by getting, I love Pure Polish products, and they have a water-resistant polish that I've used, and it actually does help, right? And it's got bentonite clay in it, right? So Pure Polish natural stuff. So anyway, he doesn't pay me to say that. Number 6, not replacing the soles or heel top lifts on time. Top lift, actually I'll show you a picture here, but the heel, what you'd normally refer to as the heel, there's a heel base, and then this part here is the top lift. And on better shoes, it's replaceable. So the big mistake is with the top lift, you don't want to wear into the heel base. Top lift is, again, on a serviceable shoe is replaceable. But if you wear into the heel base, then you have to go through a lot more work to either repair the heel base or replace it entirely. And kind of in a similar category here is not replacing the soles on time in a traditional Goodyear welted or Blake stitched dress shoe with a leather sole. You see right here's a picture where you've got a hole in the sole and you can see the cork. As soon as you can feel it getting thin, you'd probably want to replace it. You can push on it with your thumb. But if you see cork, just absolutely stop wearing it. What happens is if you keep wearing them, A, you're getting water into the insole, you're going to deform the shoe, but B, if you wear through that cork, now you're wearing into the footbed, it's going to be really, really expensive to fix that. For all intents and purposes, unless you want to spend $300, $400, $500, $600, it's not repairable. So replace the soles and the top lifts on time. Number 5, this is a really powerful tip I learned when I first got into dress shoes, and this was from a gentleman named Roger Cash. And he taught me, never wear the same dress shoe 2 days in a row. You don't want to wear the same dress shoe 2 days in a row. A well-dressed man should have at minimum 3 dress shoes, okay? One of them should be a black Oxford. But you don't want to wear the same dress shoe 2 days in a row if at all possible. So what happens is when you don't wear it, you let the leather rest and relax. I think if you wore a shoe like every 3 days, it's not going to last 3 times as long. It's, instead of wearing it every day, you wear it, once every 3 days. You'd think in theory that's 3 times longer. No, I think it'll last 5 or 10 times as long. That'll do wonders for your shoe longevity. Number 4, not using shoe trees. Let me show you shoe trees. As far as shoe trees go, shoe trees, pretty simple device. It's got some sort of form that goes into the shoe itself, and it's generally, spring-loaded. Now, they do have size ranges on these things, by the way. I'm not going to go into a whole detailed video like you see there. I think different manufacturers, different way, size them differently. But you see how this one's got the thing that pushes out? I like that because it fills the front of the foot better compared to, you see this one, right? It doesn't spread out and fill the toe. So because I have wide feet, this type I believe is generally better for my shoes. There are also ones like this that they have this little push pin here, and then it makes it, see, adjustable, right? So it fits many length sizes of shoes. I like this for cobbling because, I may be working on shoes that don't fit me personally when I'm cobbling. So those are another style. And I'll show you my favorite. This style is probably my favorite style. I'll link in the description where I got them from. Cedar Elements. You can get them a lot of places. I got on Amazon. And you can see the size XL, right? It's got this spring-loaded part. And I like this because it goes further up the vamp, if you see that, right? It's actually longer. So I think this kind of does a better job, as well as it's got a nice wide heel rather than this narrow heel. So it's also gonna not, deform your heel. I think this is much better. And then the last reason I really like this, it's got a nice knob to help pull it out of the shoe. So these are really nice. Number 3, we're getting the top 3 here. Putting them on without untying them. Terrible. Crushes the heel counter. First of all, let me explain what a heel counter is. Back to this Allen Edmonds here. You see, can you kind of see if I put it in the light? Well, if I bend the shoe, you see how it's kind of hard there and then it becomes flexible? Right there. It goes all the way around the shoe. See, that part's hard, right? There's nothing in the shoe. This is the heel counter, and it's made to keep the shape. What happens when you push your foot in without untying it, you crush that rear section, right? And then it just makes these shoes look horrible. I'll show you a couple examples here what it looks like after a while when you keep doing that. Okay, here's one. This is not me. This is my friend that I know does this, that was gracious enough to film this for me. It pains me to watch him do this, and I know he does it all the time, but he's just not a shoe guy, You see how the heel counter is crushed. It's mushed. It's out of shape. You can see doesn't use shoe trees either. I told him all 7, and he's like, yep, I do all 7 of this. I'm like, oh my gosh. So you can see what it does. It just completely deforms and crushes. It gets worse from there. It wears out and it tears the lining up. Watch this. Oh, just those poor shoes. Oh, they're screaming right now if they could talk. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's worse than I thought. Dude, it's folded under. Oh, wiggle them around and keep shoving them in. I could barely watch this. Oh my gosh, guys. There is this thing I'm going to show you here shortly, right? There is such a thing called a shoehorn specifically for this, okay? It's, oh my gosh, he just doesn't care. Oh, it's so bad. It is so bad. Let me show you a shoehorn, though, shortly. Oh, let's just speed this up. This is so bad. I just can't watch this. Here's how long does it take to actually untie them? 5 seconds. And if you untie them, by the way, the next one, this helps alleviate the one that comes right after this, number 2, okay? Just please don't do this. Here's just some of the shoes we keep by the front door. This, my friends, is a shoehorn. They have really short ones that are, just like, I don't know, like from here down, just like pocket sized. This one's kind of cool. Now, I'm going to say something, and this is not meant to be insulting to anybody. This is just factual, and I don't know how to say this any more politically correctly, but here's how you use this thing. Very simply. Put it in, stick your foot in, that's it, right? And I used to have a little hook that this hung on, made it even more convenient. Let's do this again, right? Boop, there you go. Right, by the way, these are a pair of John Lobs, actual thrifted John Lobs. I got these for $15, John Lob Rivera. Hey, Pooch. These are just $1,780 retail. So that's how simple using a shoe horn is. Oh, the part that, I was afraid of upsetting somebody. If you're a heavier guy, if you have a belly, what I've noticed is people with big bellies don't like to be able, it's hard for them to bend over. So if you're just a heavy guy, you may want to invest in something like this. My dad used to have one that was actually spring-loaded. It was like, had a metal rod on it. It was like, looked like a golf club. But you just may want to notice that about yourself. If you have a heavier guy, larger belly, big midsection, it gets harder to get down. So you may want to have something like, we've got this little bench here. Obviously it's crazy cold winter, but something like this, if it was clear, I could sit down on, and that would make it easier for me to put my shoes on. So you may want to consider, how you have your shoe area, your area you put your shoes on and off kind of set up, okay? I hope that helps. Let me give you a quick tip here. This is really about creating new habits is what we're doing. These 4 steps come from a really awesome book called Atomic Habits. The author is James Clear. And I'll put that on the screen, but basically make it obvious. If you want to change and implement a new good habit, number 1, make the habit obvious. Number 2, make it attractive. Number 3, make it easy. And number 4, make it satisfying. Here's how I would apply that to shoes. Make it obvious. You want to have your shoe horn in the place where you take your shoes on and off. You want to have that little bench, if you need it, in the place where you take your shoes on and off. That's going to make it obvious. Make it attractive. Maybe you get yourself a nice shoe horn. Maybe if that's your thing, you spend some money on one that's like a horn or something like that, like from, Kirby Allison, right? Make it easy. If you have that right there, like I said, I used to have that on a, little hook thing, but you want it to where it's easy to get to. It's right there. The challenge with that is if your wife thinks it looks ugly or something like that, she may not want it, so that really helps. And number 4, make it satisfying. Look at your shoes and look at how you're taking care of them and how much better and longer they're going to last, and feel that feeling that, you're now in a club where you're really taking care of your things. And that's going to help implement these new habits. What I did when I started to put shoe trees into my shoes, as soon as I took them off, I'm like, oh, I'm home, and my heart just wanted to go sit down and relax after a long day of work. But I timed it, and it was like, I forget, but I think it was like 10 Mississippis, less than that, to put 2 shoe trees in completely. And I was like, you know what, it's 10 Mississippis to take care of my shoes. And then after a couple weeks, 3 weeks, they say 21 days, but point is, after a couple, 3-4 weeks, you won't even think about it, and this will no longer be effort for you. So I hope that helps as far as breaking a bad habit or implementing a new one. We're down to number 2, the second worst thing, in my opinion, that you can do for your shoes. Taking them off, removing them without untying them when you step on the heel to pull it off. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And here it is. Doing this to take your shoes off. Taking your shoe off. It's not so bad on the second foot, but if you do that regularly, which I do not, what will happen is you will, generally speaking, at some point in time, separate that heel off of the upper. And number 1, in my opinion, the worst thing you can do to your dress shoes is not polishing or conditioning your shoes. To me, polishing, how often do you polish it? When it needs them, right? That just depends on how hard you are on your shoes. Are you scuffing them? What are you wearing them in? Conditioning, again, depends how many shoes you have, but it's once or twice a year, right? You don't want to over-condition shoes. But most people aren't over-conditioning shoes. Most people are not conditioning them like at all whatsoever, like 95% of the population out there, okay? But there's 2 types of polish. Well, there's more than 2, but 2 basic categories of polish. You've got your cream, the cream polishes. And I'll show you some examples of that here. And here I've got a pair of Allen Edmonds that I'm working on. But you've got your cream polishes. Like here's, for example, this is a Saphir Metal Dior cream polish. And this one is, I think, light brown. Light brown. But anyway, this one has a little bit more conditioning properties. Like I don't know if you can tell, but it's very, right? It's very thin, right? It's consistency of cream. Compared to, here we go, like for example, this is Pure Polish products, right? Pure Polish is all natural, by the way. See, this is much harder, right? You see, like I can't, I'd have to scrape it with my fingernail. This is going to give you more buildup on the top of the leather. This is going to color better, and this is going to give you really a better shine. If you use cream polish like this, it doesn't give you as much of a high shine. You cannot mirror shine with this stuff. But this stuff is good because it has more conditioning properties in it. Like, in other words, if your shoes really need conditioning, sometimes you get away without it. As far as my favorite conditioning product, absolute favorite conditioning product is this right here. And this is Pure Polish Products. Again, he doesn't pay me. I really genuinely like it, cleaner conditioner. I've separate videos on all this stuff. You don't have to use that though. I mean, I've used this stuff before because this is what they use at Horween Leather, company itself, Tanner's Blend, right? Ashland Leather Company. I like that too. A lot of people recommend, I've got it around here somewhere. A lot of people like the Saphir, and I'm probably gonna throw this away. I'm gonna throw this away for sure. Saphir Renovateur. It's supposed to be white. This looks like almost a yellowy, pinky color. That's bad. You can see it's cracked, it's dried out, even though the lid's on tight. So, but a lot of people like that. This is mink oil based. I don't like it so much. I feel like it doesn't penetrate into the leather, but it's my personal opinion. But condition, polish. Remember, polishing and conditioning your shoes is really not just about the aesthetics of it. What you have is leather, which comes from the skin. Generally, it's cowhide, right? Calf skin, I should say, from young cows. What you have is you have this skin that's tanned, turned into leather. Well, obviously your skin gets nourished, in the wintertime like it is right now, your skin gets dry. We sometimes put lotion on it. Well, all that's going to happen is, especially when you introduce moisture from your feet, perspiration into the leather and it evaporates, those oils are going to be carried out of the leather. So it's drying out. And then what happens is over time it cracks and fails, right? So one of the best things about polishing and conditioning is not just the aesthetics of it, but you're putting some of those moisturizing components, oils, back into the leather. I'm going to show you just how huge of a difference that just conditioning and polishing shoes can make by showing you a series of before and after shots of shoes that I've featured actually on my channel. Here is a pair of, this is Allen Edmonds Daltons. Just look at the left side of that left shoe before. I mean, it's just down to almost bare leather, and look what it looks like afterwards. Next here is a pair of Allen Edmonds Park Avenues, and I mean, it's almost as if they've been dyed. They have not. This is just conditioning and polishing leather. You'll often see the greatest difference in lighter colored shoes, by the way. Here's a pair of Florsheims, double monk straps. Again, the color's almost worn away. Next here, a pair of Florsheim Imperials. Just look at the magical transformation. The leather looks, raggedy, ready to throw out versus, almost new. This pair of Magnanis was in pretty terrible shape. And again, I did not dye these shoes. This is just polish. A pair of Magnani sneakers. Same massive difference. And lastly here, doesn't show up as well, but a pair of Florsheim Royal Imperials that, by the way, I resold these myself at home. Best shoe resole that I ever did. But here's a pair of black Florsheim Royal Imperials. Again, no dye used, just conditioning and polishing. Okay, guys, I know I haven't had as much of the shoe content, obviously, since adding the cars to my channel. Cobbler Bob is about cobbling and cars. But here in the last month, I have had 2 new shoe videos that are released. One on a pair of Shell Cordovan, 93605 Florsheim Imperials. And the other one was actually 4 pairs of shoes where I redid heels on 2 or 3 of them. It's pretty cool, makeover kind of thing. I also have all these things listed by playlists, 71 cut list for the playlist for the car stuff. There's a bunch of different things like before and after playlists, thrifting, leather/technical info if you're into the cobbling and the sartorial stuff, okay? Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. It means so much to me when I hear some positive things about, about my channel. I hope you guys are gonna have a blessed day, and I hope this brought you some value. Please hit that little thumbs up button if it got some value, and subscribe if you feel so. All right, have an amazing day. God bless.